Chicago-born rapper Lil Durk appeared before a federal judge in Florida this morning.
The court date finally came, and Lil Durk had to face the judge.
Chicago-bred rapper Lil Durk is now facing charges in connection to a murder-for-hire plot.
But what went down in that courtroom had everyone talking. In a twist no one saw coming, Durk reportedly snitched on his top shooter, the one tied to the attempted hit on Quando Rondo. The same Durk who built his whole image on loyalty and street codes just flipped the script. So what's this gonna mean for his rep? Can Durk really come back to the rap game talking his talk when everyone knows he broke the code? Or is this the beginning of the end of his run as one of the most respected voices in hip-hop? Stay tuned to find out all the details. Court appearance. Lil Durk's situation has taken an unexpected twist, and it's speculated that the Chicago rapper may have flipped on one of his most trusted shooters. The team he built, Only the Family, has always been about loyalty, but now that loyalty is under serious question. Prosecutors are looking at Calvin London Grant, aka Vonnie, as a key figure in the murder-for-hire plot that has Durk facing a potential life sentence. The feds hinted that Durk may have thrown Grant under the bus to save himself. Grant wasn't just another member of OTF. He was the guy who allegedly got their dirty deeds done. Prosecutors claim he flew into Los Angeles on a private jet, ready to handle business. Once there, Grant reportedly arranged hotel rooms for the crew, bought ski masks to keep everyone anonymous, and provided 2 luxury sedans to make moves. But the most critical detail, he allegedly armed the crew with firearms, including a fully automatic machine gun. If anyone was in deep, it was Grant, and the fact that he's now a major focus of this case raises eyebrows about how his name got to the top of the list. The situation gets even murkier when you consider the other players involved. DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and Asa Houston were all part of the crew that prosecutors say stalked Quando Rondo and his cousin, Saviaya Robinson, across Los Angeles. From the moment they landed in San Diego, they were on a mission funded and coordinated by Durk himself. But now, with Grant in the hot seat, people are asking if Durk may have given up information to shift the focus off himself. The feds are coming hard with evidence, claiming the group tailed Rondo's Cadillac Escalade all day from a dispensary to a clothing store before making their move at a Beverly Center gas station. Houston allegedly parked a getaway car while Jones, Lindsay, and another unnamed associate opened fire, killing Robinson in a hail of bullets. Prosecutors say this was a calculated hit orchestrated by Durk but carried out by his most loyal enforcers. And yet, with Grant now singled out as a top defendant, the question is, will Durk admit to giving them that name? The streets are ruthless, and loyalty in OTF has always been a cornerstone of its identity. But if Durk really did name drop Grant, it would mark a shift in everything OTF stands for. Grant, known for his role in keeping the operation moving smoothly, has become a pivotal piece of the case. Some are speculating that Durk's legal team might be using Grant's alleged actions to paint Durk as less involved, possibly as a way to reduce his own sentence. The idea that the mastermind of OTF could turn on his own shooter is something no one saw coming. Durk stood in court with all eyes on him, his reputation, career, and freedom hanging in the balance. The rapper pleaded not guilty to federal charges in connection with a murder-for-hire plot that prosecutors claim targeted his rival, Quando Rondo. It was a moment that confused the courtroom, not just because of the charges, but because of what felt like an undercurrent of something unspoken, an apology. But the question is, who was Durk really apologizing to? The allegations against Durk are heavy, no doubt. The charges include conspiracy, murder for hire, and firearms violations, each carrying the potential for a life sentence. Durk's courtroom appearance was measured, almost somber, as he entered his plea. He didn't deny the charges outright, but instead delivered what many interpreted as a veiled apology. Some people are speculating that this wasn't just about the case. It might have been about something deeper, like the fallout within his own circle. There are whispers that his team, the same crew he built from the ground up, is feeling the heat. And if there's any truth to the rumor that Durk gave up key information on his top shooter, that apology might have been aimed at OTF itself. The feds have laid out their narrative like a blueprint. Flight records, credit card transactions, and even text messages allegedly tie Durk to the operation. One particularly damning text, reportedly sent by Durk, reads, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." Prosecutors argue that this was a direct attempt to cover his tracks, but it also raises questions about how much of this came to light and why. But now, with Grant at the center of the case, some are wondering if Durk's apology was an admission, not of guilt, but of betrayal. Did he give up Grant's name to protect himself, or is the federal narrative just another ploy to divide and conquer? Prosecutors are even pulling from Durk's music to build their case, citing lyrics from his 2022 track Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy as evidence that he used used Lil Pab's death to fuel his artistry and profit from violence. It's a controversial angle, one that blurs the line between creative expression and real-life consequences. But the inclusion of these lyrics paints a picture of someone who, in the government's eyes, might have used his platform to glorify and capitalize on street life. Durk's fiancée, India Royale, stepped into the spotlight in a big way, standing by her man as he faces charges that could change everything. India, known for her strong social media presence and her unwavering support for Durk, was spotted outside the Miami courthouse after the rapper's most recent hearing. Her presence was a statement, loud and clear. She's not going anywhere, no matter how heavy the allegations get. India has been by Durk's side through it all. The two have been engaged since 2020 and share a daughter, Willow. Their relationship has been a cornerstone of Durk's public persona, often featured in his music and social media posts as a symbol of loyalty and love. But with Durk now caught in a legal storm, her support is being tested in ways no one could have predicted. When DJ Academics posted a photo of India leaving the courthouse, fans quickly took notice. Dressed simply yet confidently, India looked like she was ready to face whatever came her way. Some said her appearance symbolized her role as the backbone of Durk's life, holding it together as the weight of federal charges looms over him. But others speculated about what her presence might mean for the case. Was she there just as a supportive partner, or could her role extend further into his legal defense? Her courtroom appearance added a personal layer to the proceedings, reminding everyone that behind the headlines and charges is a man with a family, a fiancé, and a young daughter. For fans, it was a moment that humanized the situation, showing that while Durk might be fighting for his freedom, his family is fighting right alongside him. Meanwhile, reports revealed that two of Durk's co-defendants had waived their detention hearings, clearing the way for their transfer to Los Angeles. This move signals that the case is moving full steam ahead, with federal prosecutors ready to build their narrative. But Durk is no stranger to loyalty, and his father stepping into the courtroom to support him in the midst of these heavy charges speaks volumes about their bond. But what really turned heads was Durk's statement of support for his dad, a rare glimpse into the personal side of the Chicago rapper, who's now entangled in allegations that could cost him his freedom. In the middle of this whirlwind of legal drama, seeing his father stand by his side was a moment of humanity in a case that's been anything but. Durk's father, who has always been a quiet figure in the background, made a surprising appearance outside the Miami courthouse. Walking alongside Durk's high-profile attorney, Alex Ubieta, he stood tall, showing that family loyalty runs just as deep as the street loyalty Durk often raps about. Releasing a heartfelt message, Durk said that his dad has always been the backbone of his family, someone who's seen the streets but has always kept his principles. His support for Durk now means everything. But let's not forget the context here. Durk's defense team has been gearing up for what promises to be a high-stakes trial. His father's presence in court isn't just emotional support, it's a reminder of the values Durk was raised with, values that might play a role in his defense. Whether this show of family unity will make a difference in the courtroom remains to be seen. As the legal battle heats up, all eyes will be on the rapper, his family, and the team fighting to keep him out of a federal prison cell. But let's be real, Durk's past isn't exactly squeaky clean. The courts could dig into his old charges and use that to pin this on him. Previous crimes. In 2011, Durk, then just a young artist trying to carve his path, found himself in deep waters when he was caught with a loaded nickel semi-automatic handgun with a defaced serial number.
He's facing charges after a man was shot outside the Varsity in February. The man survived. Banks turned himself into police yesterday.
That arrest was the start of a series of legal troubles that painted a vivid picture of the challenges he faced growing up on the south side of Chicago. The story goes that police were chasing someone else when they spotted Durk, who took off and ditched the gun beneath a car before slipping into a house nearby. They found him sitting on the couch, cool as if nothing had happened, but the weapon was recovered and Durk was charged. The charges were serious. Carrying a firearm with a defaced serial number isn't a slap on the wrist kind of offense. Facing the reality of a trial, Durk eventually struck a plea deal, admitting to one count of aggravated, unauthorized use of a weapon. In 2012, he was sentenced to a year in prison. Just as he was trying to pick up the pieces of his life, Durk found himself back in trouble 2 years later in 2013. This time, he was caught in Englewood, Chicago, in an incident straight out of a movie. Police pulled up on a call about a man with a gun, and there was Durk standing near a car. As the cops rolled up, he tossed a loaded .40 caliber handgun into the car. But the move wasn't slick enough to dodge the law. The weapon was recovered, and Durk was arrested again. That second arrest hit harder because by then, Durk was already a convicted felon, making the stakes much higher. Charged with unlawful use of a weapon by a felon, Durk's legal troubles were stacking up. What's wild is that during all of this, Durk was still trying to build his career. He wasn't just another kid caught up in the system. He was an artist with talent and ambition, someone who could have been the voice of his neighborhood in a way that transcended violence. But those early arrests set a tone that would follow him for years, feeding into the narrative that would both fuel his music and haunt his personal life. Durk's legal troubles seem to come with a domino effect, and one of those falling pieces is a $350,000 lawsuit tied to a missed concert back in 2019. The rapper was supposed to perform at Nassau Stadium in the Bahamas, but things went south when he was hit with felony charges stemming from a shooting in Georgia that same year. Those charges caused serious ripples in his business, with promoters claiming the rapper's legal issues left them high and dry. The promoters are saying they did their homework before locking Durk in for the gig. They allegedly reached out to his team to make sure there were no legal roadblocks. But then came the shooting case in Atlanta, where Durk was accused of firing a gun from a moving vehicle during an alleged robbery outside the Varsity. With that case hanging over his head, Bahamian immigration reportedly denied him entry, and the concert never happened. Here's where it gets sticky. His promoter says they handed over $24,000 as an upfront payment to Durk's team and poured even more money into billboards, ads, the works. They were all in, expecting Durk to pack the stadium. But when he couldn't make it, they claim he not only kept the deposit, but allegedly demanded an extra $200,000 to reschedule the show. That's on top of the original fee they'd already agreed upon. Then they sued the rapper for $350,000 for breach of contract, saying they got left in the lurch with no show and no refunds. Durk's side isn't taking the heat lying down. His attorney, Ariel Mitchell, has fired back, calling the lawsuit frivolous and blaming the promoters for not securing the necessary visa for Durk to enter the country. Mitchell claims this whole lawsuit is just a cash grab, timed to exploit the fact that Durk was recently exonerated of the 2019 charges. This lawsuit was just another chapter in Durk's ongoing battle to balance his career and his past. While his music continues to dominate charts and his influence in hip-hop grows, the shadows of street life and legal entanglements keep creeping back in. The promoters argue that Durk's actions, or lack thereof, cost them big, not just in dollars, but in reputation. And if they succeed in court, it's another financial hit for Durk at a time when he's already fighting for his freedom and career. Durk once famously told a judge he would never see the inside of a courtroom again, with a capital N. Fast forward, and here we are. The trouble started on a seemingly regular day when a Chicago gang task force rolled up to a home Durk was in, supposedly investigating a homicide. But instead of connecting Durk directly to that case, they stumbled upon something else. According to reports, officers claimed they spotted him in the kitchen with not one but two firearms out in the open, a Glock .45 with 11 live rounds and a Springfield .45 packing 13. The sighting was enough for the officers to make their move. When questioned about the guns, Durk allegedly responded with his streetwise rationale behind his thinking, saying that his ops were always trying to take his bands. Whether or not he actually said that, the report stuck, and so did the charges. For someone with a prior felony conviction, even being in the same room as firearms is a fast track to serious trouble. It was during this case that Durk famously made his courtroom vow, boldly declaring he'd never step foot in front of a judge again. "You can put a capital in for never," he had said, as if closing the door on that chapter of his. Life for good. But life, especially in Durk's world, doesn't often follow clean endings. At the time of this latest arrest, Durk was close to wrapping up parole for an earlier conviction tied to a 2011 arrest for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. That case had already added to his reputation as someone with one foot in the streets and the other in the studio. But for all the hits and accolades, the weight of his past continues to pull him back into legal drama. The courtroom is familiar territory for Durk, but this time, the situation feels heavier. For someone who once declared he was done with courtrooms forever, this turn of events almost feels like a cruel joke. Will he manage to walk away once again, or will his past finally catch up to him? One thing's for sure, the capital N he once promised now feels like it stands for never say never. Durk's past is catching up, and it's bound to hit his career. Rapping about the streets is one thing, but now he's facing the real-life consequences. Extreme backlash. Lil Durk's world keeps unraveling, and now even his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, the same organization that helped elevate his status in his community, is cutting ties. Just weeks ago, the rapper was celebrated with keys to the city from Broadview and Bellwood, two villages near Chicago, honoring his efforts through the foundation. But all of that goodwill evaporated the moment Durk's name hit headlines for allegedly orchestrating a hit on Quando. The fallout has been swift. Broadview Mayor Katrina Thompson didn't waste any time revoking the rapper's honorary key to the city.
So we thank you and we honor you and we appreciate you being in the village of Broadview, and here's your key.
In a strongly worded statement, she made it clear that the village demands its public partners meet uncompromising standards of behavior. While acknowledging that everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty, she pointed out that the court of public opinion operates differently in her community. Residents, she said, expect better from those they hold up as role models. The decision came amid mounting backlash. Even before Durk's arrest, some people criticized the decision to honor him in the first place. Social media lit up with comments suggesting the keys should have gone to local heroes like teachers, first responders, or community advocates, not a rapper with a well-documented history tied to street life. The arrest only added fuel to the fire, forcing Broadview's leadership to distance themselves from Durk and his organization, but it doesn't stop there. The Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, a cornerstone of Durk's efforts to give back to his community, also seems to be on shaky ground. This was the nonprofit that had helped fund scholarships, provide resources for underserved youth, and launch initiatives aimed at reducing gun violence. Now its ties to Durk's name make it a lightning rod for criticism, threatening to undermine all the good it's done. The irony is heavy here. Durk's work through the foundation was supposed to show that he turned a corner, moving beyond the violence and chaos of his past to become a symbol of hope. But the allegations against him paint a different picture, one that's hard to reconcile with the image of a community leader. The timing couldn't be worse for Durk. Reports suggest that an OTF member may have flipped on him, wearing a wire and feeding information to federal agents. Durk's world got flipped on its head, and not just because of the murder for hire charges he's facing. The real jaw-dropper, OTF Jam, someone from within Durk's own circle, allegedly turned snitch. According to court documents, OTF Jam, a longtime member of Lil Durk's Only the Family crew, was reportedly working with the feds for years, wearing a wire and collecting evidence. This isn't just some casual betrayal, it's the type of thing that shakes the foundation of a crew like OTF, a group built on street loyalty and brotherhood. Jam, who was released in 2022 after serving a 12-year sentence for attempted murder, allegedly handed over critical information that's now putting Durk's freedom on the line. But here's where it gets even messier. Jam wasn't just dropping random intel. Reports say he directly implicated Durk in orchestrating the plot. The feds didn't just stumble on this case, they pieced it together brick by brick, and Jam was allegedly one of their key builders.
Did 12 years.
12
got
years.
out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000.
Right.
This. Made mention that ain't no smut on his name. He ain't never been a rat. Caught a gun case, but eventually he flipped.
The fact that Jam was someone close enough to Durk to even gather this kind of evidence, that's a wound that doesn't heal easily. This betrayal, combined with the public severing of ties by the mayor and his foundation, shows how the rapper has become increasingly isolated. Even those who once stood by him are now stepping back, unwilling to weather the storm. For Durk, the consequences are stacking up. Losing the key to the city isn't just symbolic. It's a blow to his image as someone who could bridge the gap between the streets and the community. It raises questions about whether his efforts to legitimize himself were ever enough to escape his past, or if that past was always destined to catch up with him. The ripple effects are massive. Brand partnerships, community initiatives, and even fan support could all take a hit as this case unfolds. Durk's name, once synonymous with resilience and a hard-won rise to the top, is now being dragged through the mud. And while his team might try to spin the situation, the damage to his reputation is undeniable. The streets and the industry are watching closely. For someone like Durk, who's built his brand on loyalty and authenticity, this level of fallout feels like uncharted territory. Whether he fights his way out of this or sinks deeper into the consequences, one thing is clear. The court of public opinion can be just as unforgiving as the courtroom itself. The timeline leading to Lil Durk's arrest reads like a hip-hop saga turned courtroom drama, with the stakes higher than ever for the Chicago rapper. From street beef to federal charges, the events that have unraveled don't just threaten his freedom, they could rewrite the narrative of his entire career. For someone who built his empire on street loyalty and raw authenticity, this moment might be his toughest test yet. The story traces back to the pivotal loss of King Von in 2020, a tragedy that rippled through Durk's circle and ignited long-simmering tensions with Quando Rondo's camp. King Von's death wasn't just personal for Durk, it became the catalyst for a series of events that prosecutors claim escalated into a calculated revenge plot. Fast forward to August 2022, and the streets of Los Angeles witnessed the killing of Rondo's cousin, Lil Pab. Authorities allege this wasn't some random act of violence, but a meticulously planned hit tied to Durk's crew, Only the Family. By October 2024, the feds dropped the hammer. Durk, alongside 5 OTF associates, was taken into custody. But the legal impact of these charges is seismic. Murder for hire isn't just any crime, it's one of the heaviest in the federal playbook. Convictions in these cases often mean life behind bars, with little to no room for leniency. For Durk, the stakes are life-changing. His team might argue innocence, but the evidence prosecutors claim to have, financial records, explicit texts, and a paper trail connecting him to the operation, could be devastating in court. The timing couldn't be worse for Durk's career. Fans were eagerly anticipating new music, collaborations, and tours. But now, with the looming possibility of a trial that could stretch for months or years, Durk faces a massive setback. Stepping away from the game for too long risks more than just a dip in relevance. It could cost him his fan base, his industry connections, and the momentum he's spent years building. In an industry where consistency is king, extended silence can be a career killer. Lil Durk's highly anticipated album Deep Thoughts is officially on pause, and the ripple effects could be bigger than anyone expected. Originally slated to drop on October 18th, the project now appears to be delayed, with a new tentative release date showing November 22nd on streaming platforms like Apple Music. While Durk hasn't made any public statements about the pushback, the delay is already making waves with fans and industry insiders alike. For an artist like Durk, whose momentum has been steady for years, a delay like this isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a big deal. Fans have been waiting for Deep Thoughts ever since teasers like the single Monitoring Me and the buzz around collaborations with Hunkshow hit the streets. Tracks like Turn Up a Notch and Late Checkout were expected to keep Durk's streak alive following his Grammy-winning hit All My Life featuring J. Cole. But now the uncertainty around the album's release could put all that in jeopardy. The timing couldn't be worse. With legal troubles looming and his name tied up in controversy, Durk needed this project to reaffirm his dominance in the rap game. Deep Thoughts was supposed to serve as both a creative outlet and a business move, a way to remind fans why he's at the top while also keeping his name on streaming charts and playlists. Now, every extra week the album stays shelved is a week where his audience could lose interest. In a fast-moving industry like hip-hop, that's risky. What's even more striking is the narrative surrounding the album. Durk teased visuals just days before the delay, standing in front of London's iconic Big Ben clock tower and spitting lyrics that hinted at the chaos in his life. The anticipation was palpable. Fans were ready to see Durk address his struggles head-on. Now that moment of vulnerability and connection with his audience is on hold. The financial stakes are just as high. Album delays don't just mean fans get restless, they mean money is left on the table. Streaming revenue, merch sales, concert buzz, all of it takes a hit when a project is delayed. For someone like Durk, whose brand extends beyond music into his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation and other ventures, every missed release date chips away at the empire he's built.
But the symbolic gesture was met with backlash even before news of Lil Durk's latest arrest on murder for hire charges.
Sponsors and collaborators might think twice about working with an artist whose schedule isn't locked in, and competitors are quick to fill the void left by a delayed project. Even other artists could see Durk's downfall coming from a mile away, and they didn't hesitate to take advantage. FBG Butter predicted Durk's arrest almost a year before it actually happened.
Cause just like the evidence they had on Shorty, and they had on Durk too, that you just paid to get your brother killed. How you not in jail?
But perhaps the most concerning aspect is the potential impact on his fan base. Durk's core supporters have stood by him through ups and downs, but even the most loyal fans can grow impatient. Delays often create a disconnect, especially when there's no clear communication about why the project isn't dropping. Add to that the fact that Durk's legal troubles have already cast a shadow over his image, and it's easy to see how the delay could make some listeners question his ability to keep things on track. This isn't the first time Durk's had to navigate challenges in his career, but the stakes feel higher now. In a market where consistency is everything, stepping away for too long risks losing not just casual listeners, but also die-hard supporters. His 2023 album, Almost Healed, was a reminder of his resilience, showcasing collaborations with heavyweights like Future, Lil Baby, Alicia Keys, and Morgan Wallen. It was a statement that Durk could evolve while staying true to his roots. Deep Thoughts was supposed to build on that momentum, but now it risked becoming a footnote instead of the headline it was meant to be. Still, all hope isn't lost. Delays, while frustrating, aren't career killers if handled right. If Durk and his team use this time wisely, whether to tighten up the album's narrative or create a stronger promotional strategy, Deep Thoughts could come back even stronger. But the clock is ticking, and the pressure is on to deliver not just an album, but a statement that proves Durk's place at the top of the game is untouchable. For now, fans are left in limbo, waiting to see if Deep Thoughts will meet its new release date or face further delays. And the financial blow, it's massive. From lost tour revenue to canceled sponsorships, the ripple effects of these charges could would leave Durk hemorrhaging money. The music industry thrives on visibility, and with his name tied to such serious allegations, many collaborators and brands might steer clear. Even his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, a cornerstone of his efforts to give back to the community, has distanced itself, further tarnishing his reputation. For Durk, the weight of these charges feels heavier because of the life he's lived and the persona he's cultivated. His rise from Chicago's Englewood neighborhood to Grammy-winning artist wasn't just about music. It was about surviving and thriving against all odds. But the same street credibility that helped define his career now serves as ammunition for prosecutors, who allege that OTF operates as a hybrid organization straddling the line between music and crime. The upcoming trial is a make-or-break moment. If convicted, Durk faces the harsh reality of spending the rest of his life in prison. Even if he beats some of the charges, the damage to his reputation might be irreversible. But in the court of public opinion, there's still a sliver of hope. Fans who believe in his innocence, or at least his capacity for redemption, might rally behind him. The question is, can Durk navigate this storm without losing everything he's built? As the trial looms, the tension is palpable. For someone who once told a judge he'd never step foot in court again, this is a moment of reckoning. The journey from Chicago's streets to global stardom has been anything but easy for Durk. But this latest chapter might be his hardest yet, with his freedom, his legacy, and his future all hanging in the balance. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click on one of the videos on your screen to dive into more content from our channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more.